Hey Atlanta, say hello to small business help from Apple. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/small business or visit an Apple store to learn more.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back. MisFitNation Show. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down alone, or starting to see the darkness? Stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to our Tuesday after dinner show. That's right. We're in the first Tuesday of March. Not a bad day here in Tennessee in the 60s, little rain. Great meetings at work, as the resident Hillary can attest to in the chat right now. I think our day, we lost about 2 hours of our lives today, maybe a little more just by being in meetings. But the fact of the matter is they were still alive and we're able to go to those meetings. So let's be thankful for what we have and don't complain about too much. Our next guest is the founder of Woodford Wealth Management Company. Woodford Wealth Management. After going through a tremendously expensive and emotionally draining divorce in 2017, he launched a sister company to this, Allegiant Divorce Solutions. He recognized the challenges you may face as you decide how to handle your finances relating to a divorce. Looking back, there was mistakes he made during his own divorce that could have been avoided had he had support of a certified divorce financial analyst. So without further ado, let's welcome Jamie Lima to the MisFitNation Show. Welcome, Jamie.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. It was an awesome intro.
Thank you. You're laughing and smiling, Doris. So I was hoping it was for the good sides of it.
It's awesome, man. That might be one of the best intros. I've done a bunch of these podcasts. That's one of the better ones ever, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll take notes on that. My co-host, RJ, he came up with the better side of it. I gave meat and potatoes, and he made it into an actual meal. So thank you to RJ for that. He's not with us tonight. He has other obligations on Tuesdays, but he'll be back Thursday. So I also want to thank the audience for last night, a special show with Avatar Miller last night. She came back on for a second time just to share somewhere of where she is. So thanks for joining us last night. And back to you now, Jamie. I fumbled through 2 sentences about you right there. To read it and look in the camera at the same time. It's a little harder than you think, but I tried and I got the most of it out as I could without destroying the show completely. But Jamie, if you don't mind, take us a little further back to how you got into the finance industry and how we got to where we are now.
Yeah, man, I'd love to. You did amazing. I think it's incredible so far. So I'll go back. I mean, just talking about the divorce piece of this, right? You mentioned that in the intro here. I grew up as the product of a divorce, and my parents were divorced when I was really, really young. I was probably 7 or 8 years old when that happened. And I remember how financially challenging that was for them. And even though I was really young, I picked up on some things along the way. You know, like we had friends. One of my best friends growing up, his family would bring us groceries and you know, just to help us fill our pantry because things were really tight. You know, my mother was working multiple jobs, and my dad had to work multiple jobs after the divorce because, you know, he now had two homes that he was supporting, which I'm sure was incredibly challenging for him. And even when I was that young, I recognized, like, wow, like this is difficult. And it put some stress on me at that age, where looking back now, I probably thought to myself, like, you know, if I ever have kids one day, I want to make sure that they never have the same stressors in their life, or they never have those same concerns over money like I did. And I remember thinking that to myself when I was a young kid. And I don't know about you, but you know, and the people that you love, but I've noticed in my life that the people that are, you know, myself included, if you're missing something in your life, or you don't have something in your life, that's the one thing you tend to gravitate to, right? So that could be money, that could be attention, that could be love in some respects or whatever. And I feel like that's effectively what propelled me into this career, looking back, where I knew that I never wanted to, I want to make sure my kids never had the same level of stress over money. And now I want to make sure that my clients don't have that same level of stress. And that's really what propelled me into this line of work. And I've been doing it almost 20 years now. It's crazy to say, but I've been doing this work for almost 20 years now. I started my career as a financial planner in some big name firms, which if I mentioned the names, you would definitely recognize them. And then I launched my own company about 4 years ago. It's Woodson Wealth Management, Woodson, Woodson. We're at the base of Mount Woodson here in San Diego, which is where the name comes from. But I launched my own company about 4 years ago. And then more recently, over the course of the last couple of years, really started to focus my time, energy, and efforts on helping people navigate the financial nuances of divorce, which is what prompted me to launch the second company, where we do a lot of divorce financial planning. And now we're doing some mediation work and that type of thing as well. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell, so to speak.
I know a lot of our audience, being veterans, there's a pretty horrible statistic as you go up in rank in the military, you go up in divorces as well. I was one of the anomaly who didn't get divorced during my career, but many of those who got out the same rank as I did, at least 2 divorces, on their third wife, or in the break area from their second wife at that time. So a lot of the audience would love to hear tips and such, how to maybe navigate the minefield of a divorce as they go through it, instead of learning the lessons they learned the hard way the first time.
Yeah, I'm just outside of outside of San Diego. We have a lot of military here. We have Camp Pendleton, we have Coronado, which we have a lot of Navy folks there, and we deal with it a lot. It's been something that I've had to help folks navigate for the majority of my 20-year career. The biggest thing, I think, is just understanding the benefits, especially as a military spouse, and understanding the benefits that are available to you, and how some of the decisions that you're going to have to make through the divorce impact you, right? Because depending on the length of service and the length of your marriage, and if you happen to remarry later, all of those benefits can be affected by those different factors. So we don't have to get into specifics about what the rules are and such, because every division has certain rules relative to pensions and healthcare and things of that nature. But if I'm thinking through the lens of a military spouse and a military family, and this is a kind of an impending thing that's going to happen, the divorce, that's where I would start, right? Like, obviously you want to start with, are the kids okay? And how are we going to get through this amicably, and all those things too. But that's one area that I think really trips people up, at least in my experience, is really understanding the benefits that are out there, and how you can maximize them and take advantage of them through and after the divorce is over.
Definitely. I think that's something a lot with counseling or mediation like you do now, that helps a lot, I think. And instead of, I know when it's going down, there's a lot of animosity towards each other usually, and you're not thinking clearly because you're thinking about, how do I get out of this? And I hate you, or whatever's going on. I do this needs to end so we can both be happy. And you forget a lot of other things, all the things that really will help you in life. And I think have someone like in their corner as they maybe do the mediation, or maybe even before, if you were their financial advisor before, maybe you'd have set them up for success as a team, even if this did wind up in a breakup.
Exactly. You just mentioned two really good points. The first being the therapy component of it and the emotional support that you need. One of the things that I talk about, which ties in another one of your points, which is creating a team for you, right? And I always tell people, like, once you decide that you want a divorce, the very first thing you want to do is create Team You. And that's usually an attorney, which doesn't always have to be part of the mix, right? I mean, we can get through this without attorneys. I'm sorry for the attorneys that are out there listening, but in many ways we can get through this without having to pay gobs of money to attorneys. You have your financial person, i.e. someone like myself, your loved ones, your family members that are around there to support you and wrap their arms around you to help you through this process. And I'm a big fan of therapy, right? Being able to understand how you handle the emotional aspects of things and be able to navigate those feelings that you're going to have. And I know a lot of your listeners have been through some pretty challenging things and are very strong people in and of themselves. But I think it's okay to reach out and get that help, because I've seen the people that don't get the help, and some of the decisions that they make can be emotionally charged, and they make a lot of mistakes that way. If you can really try to rein in your emotions through this and navigate the emotional aspect of things, it will help you in so many other areas, right? Which tying back in one other thing you mentioned, which is it doesn't always have to be argumentative, and it doesn't always have to be. You don't always have to be very I hate you, you hate me type of scenario, right? You can get through these divorce amicably. Those are not the ones you hear about on the news, though, right? Those are not the ones that your friends want to tell you about. It's all the challenging ones that you hear about. But I've seen it firsthand that people can get through this without having to break out the boxing glove, so to speak.
Definitely, you're right. You don't hear about the ones that work out without drama, and so those aren't made for books. They aren't made for TV movies. Was it movies in the past made it where the kids are thrown back and forth between them, the War of Roses, all those things. Those are the ones you see. You don't see things where Mr. and Mrs. Smith just realize that they don't love each other and they're not who they thought they were when they were 18. Now that they're 35 and they need to go a different way. And it may be just like, hey, you just need to figure out how to split this, split the debt, split the credit, and go forward. And that might be the best way, things that you ever see, but we don't see that.
Exactly.
So we're going to switch into the financial side of it here, since it is the beautiful tax season right now, and a lot of people are shifting over, of course. And I'm sure in your job as an advisor, before this time of year, you're trying to coach them up on what to do with these, to position themselves to move forward. We always hear things like, make sure you give to your IRA, make sure you give to the 401k at work, make sure you get a match at work. If you're not getting a good match at work, is it really worth the 401k? Should you do something on your own? So what is your advice for that person, giving their 401k and maybe having their own Roth or traditional IRA on the side? Which one is the best of the two, and where should they go?
I think, I don't know if there's anything is the best. I think it's really predicated on someone's tax situation. In traditional situations, what my usual flow through or recommendation is to start with the 401k, like you mentioned, and you contribute up to the company match. Let's say, for example, your company will contribute 3% to your 401k. Take your on your paycheck, make the adjustment to contribute 3%. You get 3% for yourself, 3% for the company match. Now you have 6% of your pay rate going into your 401k. After that, if you're eligible, I would consider contributing to a Roth IRA. There are income limits that are associated with it, so you have to be very, very careful. And it all depends on how you file, whether you file single or married filing jointly. And there are different ranges in there, and some phase outs that are associated with how much you can put into your Roth IRA. I'm a big fan of Roth IRAs. So if you're able to contribute to the Roth, go ahead and do it. Max that plan out. And then usually we go back to the 401k to max out get the 401k maximum for the year. And if you're able to do that, which is awesome, you've now maxed out your 401k, you've maxed out your Roth IRA. And if you still have funds left over, if you're one of the lucky few that does, then I think it's okay to contribute to a traditional brokerage account. Make sure you have money in, your high yield savings accounts, those types of things, so you have a break in case of emergency type of fund to be able to access. And right now, interest rates are incredibly high, which is beneficial from a savings perspective. Not so much if you're trying to buy a house or you have credit card debt. But there are a lot of companies out there. We use one that pays 5%. So, while your cash is just sitting there doing nothing, you could be, getting 5% interest on that money, which is certainly better than most banks will offer at 0.5%.
Right. And better to have money work for you than you work for your money all the time.
Absolutely.
And have something to look at the end of the year or at the end of your goal to retire, whatever the year that is in your life, to be able to be free of having to work and have that nest egg to go and be whatever you want to be, a jet setter, travel the world, or just sit on the beach somewhere and drink whatever you drink in the morning and watch the fish jump out of the water. Absolutely. If you're happy, you're happy. You got to get to that point, though. So we talked about the Roth and the 401k. What I heard something on the news the other day about whole life insurance being a scam. Don't go for it. And then you also hear someone chirping in your other ear saying, "Go for whole life. You got to get it." Do you have a stance on that, and what do you believe is the best way to go?
My stance is you don't listen to the TikTok advice, right? There's a lot of bad advice out there on TikTok. I post sporadically on TikTok. We have a social media gal that helps me with some of our postings and whatnot in social media world. And she posted TikTok. So there are some videos that are out there, but I usually use TikTok to see what kind of garbage is out there. So I'm well aware of what my clients are seeing. And there's so much noise. Listen, if you're buying a whole life insurance policy because you think there's going to be some kind of tax haven, or you're going to leverage it like a personal bank or whatever, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. And frankly, the people that are selling that stuff, you have to understand how they're incentivized to sell it to you. They're mostly commission sales people that are getting a nice little rip off of whatever you're buying. So you've got to be very careful, and you've got to be cognizant of where you're getting your information, right? Is it some 22-year-old kid that's posting on TikTok about leveraging their whole life insurance policy, or how an LLC can be a tax haven? That's another one I see all the time. Or someone like myself and my colleagues who have 20 plus years of experience doing this and have worked with thousands of people to build successful financial plans over the years. It just doesn't make any sense to listen to that stuff. So I do have a stance. I hope it comes across. I definitely have an opinion about this. And I would say you have to understand what you're buying and who you're buying from, and ask a lot of questions. I'm a big believer in having insurance and using insurance in the right way. But what a lot of people are seeing out there, it's not designed for that use. Let's just say that.
So say someone has a buyer's remorse in a life, or something they purchased for a financial gain. Are there benefits to getting out of it and then reinvesting that money somewhere else?
Absolutely. I think I'll take that a step back on this. A lot of those insurance products that are out there have significant penalties if you get out within a certain period of time. In our world, it's called a CDSC, or a contingent deferred sales charge. And there are some that are out there that will charge you for 10 years if you want to get out of this thing. And you could be tied up in specifically annuities. Annuities that are out there, they do this a lot. There's a lot of index annuities and a bunch of other garbage that's out there that I would never sell to anyone. And you have to read the fine print. You can have buyer's remorse all day long, but you have to recognize that there are penalties that will come along with it. So you, again, understand what you own and know why you own it. We will recommend, and I just had a conversation 45 minutes ago with a client of mine, and we were talking about insurance and making sure he has enough life insurance and umbrella insurance. The company that I run, our Woodson Wealth Management, we're a fee-only company, so we don't sell insurance, we don't get commissions, we don't sell any of that stuff. We just provide the advice. So I don't care if he goes to State Farm or if he goes to Geico or wherever to get the insurance that he needs. It doesn't have any effect on our compensation. So we're not biased in that regard. However, I'm going to work with him to figure out what his insurance needs are, and then help him go out and get the right insurance to match those needs. That's how you should be approaching insurance. It's called needs analysis. So if you are exploring the option of getting insurance in whatever form or fashion, have your agent run that needs analysis for you based on your particular financial factors, and make sure that you're getting the right level of coverage, because you don't want to be overinsured. You don't want to be underinsured. You want to have the right level of insurance. There's a nice Goldilocks scenario there with insurance, and you want to make sure you're kind of in that middle ground there.
Awesome. We do have a question from the audience. Our resident hillbilly is asking the question. Yeah. If he's getting by on his current salary, he tries to contribute to his pay raise percentage to either the 401k or IRA. Is this a good practice, or should he do something different?
For those people that are just getting by, and I don't know what that specifically means for his particular situation, but I'm a certified financial planner, and as a CFP, one of the very first things that we'll tell all of our clients, is to ensure you have a nice, rock solid emergency fund, right? It's not sexy. You're not going to want to talk to your friends about it over the water cooler. You're not going to be talking about the great returns you're getting in it. But I will tell you, it will go a long way to saving you from having to go into the 401k or your IRA to take money out if the water heater breaks or the car breaks down or what have you. And I've seen it time and time again where just having a nice safety net can save people so much money in taxes alone. Because if you take money out of your retirement account and you are under the age of 59 and a half, you're going to have to pay penalties and taxes on that. So I guess if this person was my client, the first thing I would make sure that we have a nice emergency fund, which usually covers somewhere between 6 to 12 months worth of expenses, right? So if you have $3,000 a month in expenses, you want somewhere between $18,000 and $36,000 in cash, sitting there in a high yield savings account, ready to tap into it if an emergency arises. Again, it's not sexy. There's nothing amazing about it, but it will get you through. And then I think it's, like we talked about before, contribute to the 401k match, whatever that is, then contribute to the IRA if you qualify, and then go back to the 401k. I love the strategy of kind of pretending that those annual raises or those semi-annual raises don't exist, right? Like if you get a 2% raise, take that 2% and put it in the 401k. I love that strategy. Sometimes it's about the mental math we do with ourselves to help us get over these hurdles of continuing to save and save and save. I love it. I would just say, don't forget about the emergency cushion that you need, because it's not going to do you any good to have all that money in the 401k. And then if something happens, you need to tap into it.
Definitely. And with that strategy, I think a lot of listeners learned that in the military, because every year you get that cost of living raise plus whatever rank you move up. So in our house, that raise was never really there. So it was whatever our base level was, that's what we had the whole time. And that's what we lived on. Everything else went to either emergency fund or to pay for things, put things aside for our neighbor and things like that. And it, just like him, it hasn't changed now. Every time I raise it, just goes to some weird, my wife's voodoo math on the side. I don't know where, I don't touch it. I don't even see it. So you do voodoo math, tell me where it is. And when we need it, we need it. So when I retired, we planned for 6 months of maybe not having a job because of the job market at the time. It wound up being a year. So that fund helped a lot to get us through that year. And then when that year came up, I got the job and everything is fine and dandy again. So just having her know with all that mental strength and financial strength got us through it.
Absolutely. It's not sexy, but it's definitely it's like the foundation of financial planning is emergency fund. And I'm a big advocate for it.
And Jake said, thanks for the answer.
Oh, you're welcome, Jake.
So he was happy with the answer, and he's doing great things. And I know he has a lot of side hustles. He helps a lot of people on the side, so he'll be fine. He keeps me motivated every day. So if someone's, I guess, most financial planners like to get people when they're younger. I'm sure it's a better success rate for younger. But as the people get to the, say, 30, 40, 50, what are the biggest challenges as they hit those, those speed bumps or those plateaus in life?
I think the biggest thing that we face with the clients that we work with, and for the record, the crowd that we work with these days is somewhere between the age of 30 and 50. So we do work with a pretty young crowd. In my old life, when I worked with some of these other firms, we worked with typical retirees and people that were well beyond that. And I wanted to work with a little bit younger crowd with the new company. But the thing that we face, and I think this is me, you, a lot of the clients that we work with, there are a lot of spinning plates. There are a lot of competing priorities, right? I'll just give you an example. My exact situation. We have a blended family. We have 5 kids between the two of us. My wife and I have 5 kids between the two of us. 3 of them are in college. I have one who's going to be a senior here, before I know it, and I have a 12-year-old. Oh my. I'm running 2 companies. My wife has a full-time job. She unfortunately just lost her mother over the Christmas holiday. My parents are starting to age, and so we're kind of sitting here in the middle. And I have my parents over here that I'm worried about, and how are they going to take care of themselves? And they're going to be okay? What does their estate plan look like? Are they going to be, where's all that, the stuff that they have saved? Where's that going to go? So on and so forth. We have the kids because we're always worried about our kids. That as a parent that will never change, I don't think. And then we're stuck in the middle trying to figure it all out for ourselves. Jake, just like Jake's question, how much do I put in my 401k? What is the order of operations relative to saving? What is the best way to save? How do I maximize my paycheck? How do I do well in my job? How do I handle all the day-to-day stressors that are coming my way? And our job as the advisor working with people that are in this particular situation is to to try to remove some of those financial stressors, right? Like, I can't help with their parents. I can't help with their kids. But I can try to find a way, me personally, of keeping them on the right path moving forward, and just trying to help them make sure they watch their back, right? What are you guys saying? Those like, check your six, right? Like, I'm there to help them check their six. They want to make sure that at the end of the day, they have enough insurance. They're not following terrible TikTok advice. They're budgeting appropriately. They're saving. They're focused on college savings, their own estate plan, all those things. If we can take that work off of them, and because we can't do it all for them, there has to be some engagement by them too. But in the investment management, if we can manage the investments and make sure that they're on the right track moving forward, I feel like it's noble work, man. I feel like it's like we're helping a lot of people, and we're coming from a good place doing it. And I think it's going to put a lot of people on the right path moving forward. And that's kind of what we're focused on right now. Those are the things that I'd be thinking about, as your audience, I think is probably in the same age range. Those are all the things that I recognize are coming at you. And, people like us are out there to help.
Awesome. And that's a great answer right there. I think everyone should have been able to tune in a little bit there to hear what you were saying, pick up what you were putting down right there. One thing you threw out in there is that you kind of glossed over estate planning as you went through there. And that was going to be my next question anyway. What exactly is estate planning, and how early should you start it?
If you are over the age of 19 and you do not have an estate plan, you are doing your family a disservice. Over the age of 19. And the reason being is because mommy and daddy cannot come into the hospital and make a decision on your behalf whether or not to keep you on life support, or to, if you're in an accident, amputate, or whatever it is. They can't make medical decisions on your behalf. They also can't go open bank accounts for you, and they can't close bank accounts. They can't pay your bills. Let's say you're 25 years old and you're in your first, real job with a real apartment and all those things, right? You're very proud of yourself, and then something happens where you're in the hospital for 2 weeks or a month. Somebody needs to pay your bills, and your mommy and daddy can't come in and do it for you if you don't have your estate planning documents in place. There are things like healthcare power of attorneys, financial power of attorneys, all those directives that are in place that give legal authority to somebody else to act on your behalf. That in and of itself is what an estate plan is. To take it one step further, and not to be morbid, but then there are things that we can layer in, like living wills and trusts and those types of documents. I tell people all the time, like, it gives you control from the grave. If you are no longer with us and you're 6 feet under, and you want somebody to be able to go in and sell your house or distribute your assets to loved ones or take care of your pets, all those things happen through a solid estate plan. And it's not very expensive. If you go to an attorney, it's probably going to be a little bit more expensive, but there are a lot of online tools and resources that are available out there now. And you can do it for just, a few $100, and it is incredibly important. Incredibly important.
And all these documents have to be notarized or signed by a professional or seal or something, right, to make them, a legal tender.
Every state is different. I'm in the state of California, so you need to have a few documents to be witnessed. So that's pretty easy. Or you go to a notary, and a notary can sign. Effectively, what they're doing is they want to validate that you are who you are, and you're not under duress when you're signing these documents. And it's pretty easy. We've had to update our estate plan a couple times and make changes to it, and we just go to UPS store and have them pay $20, whatever it is, and they sign off on it, and it's done. So it's not at all. It's one of those things that, like the emergency plan, emergency account, Nobody wants to talk about it. It's one of those things. I'll get to it later, but I'll tell you right now. My ex-wife, her father passed away when she was 8 years old, and they had their estate plan and their life insurance documents on the desk, ready to be signed, and they kept delaying the signature of that, and they kept putting that off for whatever reason. And it was challenging for her growing up, because they didn't have life insurance proceeds and all that other stuff to support them. Her mom had to go out and get multiple jobs and to do what she could to support her. And it didn't have to be that way. And it was mostly due to procrastination.
Yeah. Procrastination is the enemy of all things you do. So no matter if it's financial planning, it's trying to get a business started, write a book, it'll kill you along the way. Slowly kill your dream along the way, and those around you with estate planning, of course. So I know you said at UPS $20. I was thinking, well, same price. So UPS is, I guess, universal with that $20 fee across the board. So it's no different here.
$20 or $30. It can't be much. If they're just somewhere in that range. Yeah.
And it's something per page after that or something, but it's not a lot.
It's per signature, and I think on a lot of the documents you need it's one or two signatures. It's not much, not much at all. And I don't want to keep belaboring this point, but the other thing that people need to think about in respect to the estate plan is it allows you to keep your assets out of probate. Every state is different. Again, I'll just use the state of California. If you are in the state of California and you have assets that are over $100,000 and you don't have beneficiaries listed, you don't have a trust in place, and you've kind of foregone this estate planning thing, you will end up in probate. And it could be a 2 to 3 year process. It is your family's going to be in probate because you're probably going to be dead, but you're going to be in probate. It's going to be a 2 or 3 year process. It's going to be super expensive. And all of that information, all of your asset information is out there in the public. Those public notices that are in the newspaper, those are all probate situations for the most part, right? Who wants that? I want my information out there. I'd rather keep it private. And by having a solid estate plan, and that you can help avoid those situations.
Definitely. That's a great advice right there. And if you could give 3 bits of advice for the audience to set up themselves for financial, security as they move into their later parts of life, what would that be?
Start early. We've started our kids with their own retirement accounts as soon as they had their first job, which may be a little bit early, but I think it's going to go a long way in helping them on down the road. So start early, save often. Right? It doesn't have to be a lot. $10 here, $20 there, $100, in the 401k, whatever it is. But save early, save often. And I think we talked about this a little bit, but I want to reiterate it. You have to avoid the noise. There's always a bad day to invest. We were just talking not too long ago about things like the Russia-Ukraine crisis, right? Oh, well, Russia-Ukraine, there's going to be a war. I'm not going to invest. Interest rates. Oh, interest rates are high. I'm going to wait till interest rates come down. Or interest rates are low. I'm going to wait till interest rates are up. There's always a reason. If you watch CNBC like every day, like I do, you'll recognize that it is all just noise out there, right? And the problem is we have this in our hand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there was a time when I first started in this career, you used to have to pick up the phone and call me to place a stock trade, or call me to find out what the S&P 500 was doing that day and if the market was up or down. Now, 2 seconds on the toilet, I can place a trade, right? I mean, it's 24 hour, this 24-hour news cycle. It's in your face all the time. It's technology and all this other stuff. And frankly, it's all just a bunch of noise. Nothing fundamentally has changed about the ability to build wealth. Spend less than you make, save early and often, avoid the noise, and just wash, rinse, repeat, and you're going to be fine. There's really no magic bullet. It's just consistency.
Outstanding. Jake has another question for you. How about a trust and setting up one to avoid inheritance tax?
If Jake has to worry about inheritance tax, I want to be Jake's friend, because we're at like a $15 million exemption right now. So I wouldn't worry too much about the inheritance tax. The estate tax is what he's talking about, right? And I don't know the exact dollar amount off the top of my head. Every year it changes. So by the time I remember the number, it's the end of the year and the new number comes out, because they adjust the number every year. But you're in double digit, like 10, $20 million in exemptions as far as that goes. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Most people that we work with, and I would presume this is you as well, Jake, the main reason why you're setting that trust up is again to get control from the grave, and to be sure that your loved ones don't have to go through the experience that a lot of people do when they don't have one in place, of trying to figure it all out. Who's going to get what, and what are his wishes, and where does he want this thing to go, and who's going to take care of the house, and so on and so forth. You don't want your family to do that. You want your loved ones to be able to look at the document and go, Jake's got it all figured out. Here's the roadmap right here. Now let's go spend some time mourning the loss of him so we can move on with our lives. Right? That's what you want for your loved ones. Right? I would venture to guess most people want that for their loved ones. And I've seen situations where it could take 2 or 3 years to unwind an estate because those documents are not in place, whereas we can do it in just a couple months if a trust is involved, and all you need is the trust and the death certificate, and it's kind of done at that point. So I wouldn't worry so much about the exemptions. It's more about the experience that your family's going to have when you're no longer with us.
And Jake said, good deal. Thank you for that. And I think that was outstanding advice. As we start to close out here, what's the best way to get in contact with you, Jamie, if someone wants to pick your brain like I did tonight, or maybe get you to be their financial advisor?
Hey, man, I'm an open book. So I love to have these conversations. I'm a firm believer in education and trying to help as many people as I can. So my cell phone is on the website. That's how open I am about this stuff. If you go to the website, I'll give you two. Well, the first one is our traditional wealth management company, Woodson Wealth Management. That's woodsonwm.com, WOODSONWN.com, Woodson Wealth Management. And our divorce financial planning company is called Allegiant Divorce Solutions, and that's AllegiantDS.com. I try to keep it super simple from a domain name perspective, but all my contact information is on the website. Call, text, email, whatever you need, it's on there. Happy to help wherever I possibly can. Even if I'm not the right guy for you, my promise and my mandate for myself and our other advisors as well is we'll find you the right person. So we have a pretty sizable network of other advisors, and everybody has a little bit different business model, and different people they like to work with or they get along better with. Or I have some advisors that I know that are former military that would be perfect fit for some people. I'm happy to align people and get them in the right place. It's not a problem at all.
It's outstanding. And both those websites have gone across the bottom of the screen as we're talking here. And I think both of them are in the show notes because I think they were in your bio that you sent me. So I put them both in the show notes. So all those links are in the show notes for those who aren't able to see the video but are able to listen to the audio. It'll be in the show notes. It'll also be in the show notes on the YouTube as well. Jamie, thanks again for taking some of your time tonight to hang out with the Misfit Nation, share a lot of knowledge with us. It's been great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me, man. Thank you for your service, you and a lot of your listeners too. I am super appreciative of it. So thank you for all that you've done for us.
We appreciate that. Thank you. Have a good night.
See ya.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Got a question about your VA benefits, healthcare, or eligibility? Go to va.gov, where you can access a new interactive chatbot to ask questions 24/7. One can still browse va.gov for information, but you can now ask specific questions to the chatbot, like what's the PACT Act? How do I apply for disability benefits? What's my claim status? You can access the new feature through va.gov's Contact Us page. Then click on the Start Chat button. The chatbot will continue to improve veterans' access to information about the benefits and services they've earned. This is one way VA is offering seamless and secure access to its online resources.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.